If you are a regular Microsoft Excel user, then you are familiar with the VLOOKUP function and its many uses. But there is also the HLOOKUP function that most people have never heard of. Hi, my name is Raphael and welcome to another edition of Excel in 365. In this video, I'm going to discuss the VLOOKUP function and introduce you to its partner, the HLOOKUP. Recently, in one of my live seminars, during one of our morning breaks, as I was walking between the congested seats, a hand reached out and grabbed my arm, and a voice said, "No, I'm just seeing if you're still paying attention." The voice said, "I was wondering if you can help me with a function that I'm having difficulty making it work." I asked him which function it was. He told me it was the VLOOKUP. To cut a long story short for the benefit of this video, the correct function he should have been using was the HLOOKUP function because of the way his data was set up in his worksheet. Let me illustrate. Here is a sample of my data. As you can see, my headers represent the days of a particular week. In column A, I have my products. These numbers could represent cases of fruit that I have in the warehouse, or perhaps how many I've sold in a day, but you get the picture. Imagine that this data is being gathered in a separate worksheet. And down here, I'm using a function to look up a specific value. For example, the numbers just for Monday for all of these fruits. A popular function that people use is the VLOOKUP function to look up the value in this array. Let's first of all examine the description of the VLOOKUP. The VLOOKUP looks for a value in the leftmost column of a table and then returns a value in the same row from a column you specify. So I will enter the lookup value, which is apple, the table array, which is all this area here. And while we're at it, let's make the array absolute, because I'm going to drag and fill the formula in this column in a minute. And next, the column index number is 2, because we want the values for Monday, which happens to be in the second column. Next, we choose false, because we're looking for an exact match and not an approximate. One thing I do want to stress before we go any further is that the values that I'm looking for, apples, oranges, bananas, etc., are in a column. The data in this worksheet is set up vertically, hence the reason why we are using the V for vertical lookup function. Next, let's fill the formulas down this column for the rest of these fruits. The VLOOKUP here works perfectly for this data in this worksheet. Now let's go to a different worksheet. Same exact data, the only difference is how the data is set up in this worksheet. Using the VLOOKUP function in this worksheet will give me an error message. Let's see why. We get an error message. Why? Remember that the value we are looking for in the leftmost column, in this case, is not apple, and therefore it cannot find apple. Therefore we get an NA error message. Now let's switch to the HLOOKUP function instead. Here it says, looks for a value in the top row of a table or array, and then returns the value in the same column from a row you specify. Notice that my fruits in this worksheet are laid out in rows or horizontally. That's why we are using the H for horizontal lookup function. And now it's asking us for the row number, the value that I'm looking for Monday is on row number 2. And once again, we're looking for an exact match, and we're going to press enter. The example that my friend in the audience had was similar to this type of data in his worksheet. His data was set up in rows, and therefore it rendered the VLOOKUP function as useless. That day he walked away with a solution to his frustration, and he also learned about a new function that he had previously never heard of. Depending on how your lookup data or array is set up, there is a VLOOKUP as well as a HLOOKUP function to do the job. I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you again in another edition of Excel in 365.